Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Pankhuri, your host, and this is After the Jump. While I stroke my hair. Now, I have decided to do this very casually today because this is quite an impromptu episode, all right? And honestly, I wasn't planning on shooting at all today, but last night I was up pretty late, and at around 4 a.m., I got this sudden burst of ideas. I scripted it all down, and exactly what I do every time I have this creative influx. And then I decided that I should shoot before I leave. Now, where am I leaving for, do you ask? I cannot tell you that yet. You will have to come back. But I have a flight early morning on the 11th of October because it's my birthday on the 12th of October. So I gonna go away for a little bit because heaven knows I need a breather. So today I want to talk to you guys about this month, the month of October, while I also sip on my protein shake. Honestly, I didn't get a chance to consume my protein shake right after I finished working out because I was so famished by the end of it that after I took a shower, I was like, I need food immediately, which is not what I do generally. Once I've worked out, I'll take a shower, then I'll have my protein shake, and then only I get down to doing anything else. But today was different. It was, like I said, I was feeling so famished. I had to eat something first. And right now is the best time, the most convenient time for me to, sip on my protein shake and talk to you guys. Like I said, I want to talk to you guys about this month itself, the month of October, which honestly marks the beginning of fall. And I love fall season also because fall is beautiful. Okay, that's lame. That's a lame answer, but I think mostly because, this month is my birthday month. I'm digressing too much. I'm so underslept, you guys. I'm so underslept. But I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to do my best today. Fall is like that turning point in the entire year where you are sort of forcing yourself, or you are in a way or the other forced to kind of take a crack at your life in general. You're like trying to figure out, what's happening, where do you stand, what's it gonna be, stuff like that. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's how it's always been for me. And I've been speaking a lot about this on my Instagram as well. You should follow me there, by the way. If you still don't, go follow me. I mean, of course, all of the magic that goes on here, it goes on here. But a lot of good stuff also happens on my Instagram. Anyway, coming back, like I was saying, I have been talking about this on my Instagram stories, and, it sort of also relates to what I very briefly but sharply spoke of in episode 2, where, I help you guys figure out what is it that you stand for? Where is it that you stand in your lives? If you haven't watched it, please go watch. I'm going to put the link in the description box below so that's easy for you. All right. All right. So I am going to expand on that a little bit, and I'll tell you why, because I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday when I got a notification from this app called In Shorts. It's a news bite app. And basically the notification that I got, it read, what is the October theory? I honestly didn't know that there existed a theory which is called the October theory. What it actually is that October is that month where you sort of assess yourself, assess your life. It's that assessment month. November, on the other hand, is the month where you set goals for yourself in terms of your assessment that you made in the month of October. December is where you try to turn those goals into habits so that, the onset of the new year and the New Year's Eve itself does not feel pressurizing to you. You are not feeling that pressure that, oh my God, now I have to set a New Year's resolution. I have to rebrand myself. I have to reset. I want to decide what is it that I want to change. How do I want to look like? How do I want to behave? So I think these are those 3 months where you sort of take a crack at what's going to change in the next year. I found it quite interesting that it's called the October theory because honestly, it immediately took me back to episode 2 because in a way, that's what I tried to do through episode 2. And then I also went on to quite inadvertently talk about the same thing on my Instagram stories. And when I got the notification, I was pretty excited that all of that sort of resonated, made sense. And then I again spoke about it on my Instagram stories, which is why I keep telling you guys, go follow me. because I talk about a lot of the good stuff and quite regularly on Instagram. Anyway, so what I've decided to do as part of this episode is I am going to break down the aspects of our life, which I think can be categorized into 4 buckets. And I'm going to give you guys an anecdote for each of these 4 buckets, anecdotes from my life. And I'm going to assess right here, right now, in terms of those 4 buckets as to where is it that I stand. And that will help you make an assessment for yourself as to where do you stand in terms of those 4 buckets. And like I said, these 4 buckets make up our entire life. The first one is your emotional and spiritual well-being. The second one is your physical health and your body awareness. The third one, your relationships, boundaries, basically your interpersonal relationships. And the last is your career and professional alignment. So yeah, that's how I've categorized the aspects that sort of make up our lives, that make us up. And let's get into each of the buckets. All right. So the first one, like I said, is your emotional and spiritual well-being. So here's what I found as to where is it that I stand. You know, what I realized and what I assessed is that I am extremely afraid to make mistakes in life in general. You know, I am so damn afraid that I'm constantly pressurizing myself. I'm constantly keeping myself on toes. I'm always sort of looking ahead in terms of how can I do things better or how can I get better. It's almost as if, you know, I'm never really satisfied fully with whatever it is that I do. Like, I am so strict with myself, and I don't think I had a fair idea about the fact that I'm actually very, very hard on myself. And I've only sort of realized this in the last a year and a half in phases, that too. Like, I think the full realization only sort of set in about a month or so ago. And, you know, I think where this comes from is that all throughout my childhood and during my formative years, I was the golden child for my family, my parents, everybody, literally everybody. Like, I always felt this huge pressure of expectations from everybody because I was always deemed incapable of error. Like, I was not allowed to make mistakes. It was sort of never easy in that sense. I mean, the bar was set so high that I was very much aware that I had to be on my toes. I had to perform all the time. I had to excel, which I did. I genuinely did. But obviously, years later, it sort of, you know, in phases, gradually took a toll on my mental health. And honestly, I saw that I have a sibling. So my sibling was not sort of subjected to the same pressure, even though there were attempts. I think I was always the protective shield in between. I would always protect him. But it's only very recently that I came to realize that genuinely there was nobody protecting me in that sense. Nobody was sort of getting me. While that was for my benefit in some aspects. For instance, I did well through primary school, through high school, college, law school, but eventually and gradually in phases, you know, like I said, there was an impact on my mental health. And honestly, I have really learned to slow down and appreciated that I need to slow down. My nervous system wants me to slow down. That is something that I've only learned and appreciated, or at least began to learn and appreciate sometime around last year, which kind of explains the fact that I felt the need to be more in control of myself than wanting to allow somebody else to be in control of me. And that again explains the entire reason why I deemed myself incapable of continuing with the 9 to 5, 9 to 9, 9 to 10, whatever, any further. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch episode 1. You'll get the full story. Anyway, so yeah, that's the assessment that I've made in terms of my emotional and spiritual well-being, that I'm very, very hard on myself. I'm very strict with myself. I do not allow myself to make mistakes. Obviously, what this means is that going forward, I want to start getting better at letting myself make mistakes and still being able to love myself. Yeah. The next bucket is our physical health and body awareness. What I've assessed in terms of where is it that I stand in terms of my physical health and body awareness is that, earlier I used to be very, very strict with my diet. When I say diet, I mean that I had a very healthy diet and I would let myself cheat on my meals during weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. Now, what I've started doing, I have been indulging a lot in eating my feelings. And I think this began sometime during the period that I was associated with the last law firm that I was with. And honestly, I do not quite like it because it's almost a form of self-sabotage. Genuinely speaking, emotional eating doesn't really do you good most of the times unless you have made sure that you use food as a recourse, as a digression, but at the same time you come back and you also deal with your emotions. But what I realized and understood is that what I was doing was I would just use food. And when I say not even food in general, but specifically desserts and hot chocolate, things that I absolutely love, to sort of completely ignore whatever it is that I'm feeling and never really come back to dealing with, my feelings. So I don't think that does you any good. And yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is I would like to change that. I really think I would love to sort of go back to my balance, the balance that I had sort of created for myself. Honestly, I love that version of myself when I think about her. The time when I used to genuinely, very stringently adhere to that practice where I would, eat healthy throughout the week and would only have two desserts over the weekend and I would be satisfied, no matter what. And at least that allowed me to sort of not indulge in emotional eating, not eat my feelings. And I really feel like that is something that I want to go back to. I think another thing that I have sort of realized is also that I don't listen to my body enough. Our bodies are giving us signals, guys, all the time. And if you're present in the moment, you will be able to listen to what your body is telling you. And genuinely, I honestly, I have to call myself out on this. It's quite embarrassing that this is how it is, but I don't think I'm a present person at all. I mean, I'm present when I'm with other people. I'm listening to them, but I'm not present when I'm with myself, because I really feel like I'm constantly on the go, 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 especially now it's been quite a lot like that. And I think it tends to happen when I really want to just do something, keep doing something. And there are a lot of things happening in my brain all at once. And I'm like, all right, I need to do everything all at once. And that's when I just fail to listen to my body. Most of the times, I'm not at all present when I'm with myself. So yeah, that's where I stand in terms of my physical health and body awareness. All right, now let's come to the most important bucket that I think is relationships and boundaries. Basically, your interpersonal relationships. This is something that I think I have struggled with quite a lot, mainly because I did not really see functional, healthy relationships growing up as a child during my formative years. It was difficult for me that way, so I had to bootstrap constantly. I think that's why I would say that some relationships were more difficult than the others. And I'm sure, a lot of you can relate. It's not like this is a unique case here. I mean, even though I was not really sort of living with my family for a long period of time at any point in my life. Despite that, I think, no matter where you are, where you go, I think it does sort of have an impact on you. And I'm sure you guys would agree. Yeah, so the thing is, assessment that I have made for myself in terms of my interpersonal relationships has to date back to sort of 2023, because 2023 to 2025, I saw myself entangled in a series of patterns that I have now broken away from. But it was not easy to break away from them. And like I said, because I didn't see functional, healthy relationships as a child growing up in my formative years, I didn't really know, or I sort of had to teach myself, right, as to how to behave in a healthy fashion. Not only that, but also how to accept, or what is the healthy behavior? What exactly is the sort of behavior that you should accept from other people? That is something that I also struggled with. And that is also something that I had to teach myself quite painfully. So I walked away from a relationship last year because it crossed a boundary. that I could not tolerate. And then all through last year up until now, I had to make multiple assessments in terms of, various relationships that I had with people, specifically three people, three friends that I had to, in a very heartbroken fashion, let go of this year, like completely sort of make peace with the fact that it was never going to go back to normal. So essentially what I'm trying to say in terms of my assessment is that 2023 to most of 2024 was all about me being overgiving in my relationships without understanding or realizing that, relationships are really all about reciprocity. There has to be an equal give and take. And I had to learn the hard way that the only right way to go about a relationship, any relationship, all right, platonic, non-platonic, is to have a balance, a healthy balance between give and take. And this balance has to sort of flow from one person to the other, back and forth, back and forth. That's how it works. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's not going to last. Precisely why, like I said, I had to let go of that one relationship last year, and then three friends that I had to sort of mentally, energetically cut off completely from, having to tell myself that, it's over, like nothing can happen. That's what I had been doing these past almost 2 years, actually more than 2 years. So almost 2.5 years. So yeah, that's where I have assessed that I stand in terms of my relationships with other people and my boundaries, that this is what had happened the last 2.5 years, and this is what's going to happen now. I'm going to ensure that henceforth, it's going to be a constant give and take between me and the other person, whosoever that other person is. Now, coming back to the final bucket, career and purpose alignment. I think here the assessment has been pretty simple. There are two things that I want to state here. One is obviously that I did come to realize that so far in my life, I allowed a lot of other people to dictate my professional life, my career choices. What was it going to be? What I should have done, what I should have been professionally. And that's precisely why I decided to make a change. I walked away from a 6-figure corporate job as a lawyer in one of the best law firms in the country. If you haven't watched the story around that yet, please go watch episode 1. You're going to love it. Trust me. Yeah, so that's precisely why I think I walked away from my corporate law firm job, because I decided that I didn't want anybody else controlling my career choices, my career decisions, who I had to be or who I wanted to be professionally. I didn't want anybody else deciding what my potential was. How could I maximize upon my potential? Feedback is always welcome. I still take feedback with whatever I'm doing right now, but feedback has to be constructive. It cannot be destructive. That is not what I believe in. So that assessment, I think that is something that's been there, that is something that I have already come to the realization of. There's another aspect to it, which is that now that I've taken control of my professional life, I also determined that there are times that fear paralyzes me, and I just go in the state of inaction for some time where I don't know how I should get out of that state. So I think that is something that I would like to figure a way around. When I said that I don't want anybody controlling my professional path, I also meant that I would not like if fear is controlling my professional path, right? It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense for anybody. I mean, you guys will agree, right, that fear should not control us. It's all right to be fearful of the things that you're doing because you don't know what's going to happen next, or whether or not something is actually happening, whether or not it's producing the results that you wanted to produce. But we should not allow fear to control or dictate our actions, our mood, our next steps, our circumstances and situations at all times. And I'm sure you guys will agree with me when I say this. So yeah, I think that's where I stand. That's what I've assessed, that I do not want fear to control or paralyze me over and above the fact that I have obviously determined and made changes in terms of how I want to be in full control of my path and my potential forward. I decide that this is what I want to do and this is how I want to do it, believing upon my potential and my capability. That genuinely brings me to the essence of this video, guys. Honestly, this is a very important time, in the ages to come. I cannot stress this enough. I will talk about more things in this aspect very, very soon. But I really want to tell you that unless we decide what kind of people we are, we will not be able to decide what kind of people we want to be, which is why I think fall is the most important time of the year, and it's also the most beautiful. You can make it beautiful. You can truly sort of make use of it in the right fashion. And which is why I wanted this video to be all about what it is and also, touch upon this specific aspect of the October theory. Having said that, I think it's very, very important to live your life consciously, being true to who you are and finding out who you are if you don't know yet who you are. And it's okay if you don't know who you are, because we're all doing this, trying to do this for the first time, trying to understand other people as much as we are trying to understand ourselves. And, I'm very passionate about just sort of growing and having that mindset where you try to do better, try to be better whenever you can. Maybe you don't have to put that pressure on yourself to do it every day, but you should live consciously, be conscious of your choices and your decisions and who you are and the way to go about it. One of the ways to go about it is honestly this, that we understand where we are, which is why I think it's a wonderful theory. And further to this, what I've decided is that in the months of November and December, I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to you guys about the goals that I have set for the month of November and how I'm going to turn those goals into habits in the month of December. So I'm going to make those two separate videos, one each for the months of November and December. And that's how we sort of, put it all together in terms of this theory. Yeah. I guess that's all I had to say about this. And I hope I have been able to deliver, because honestly, it took me quite some time to sort of, just come up with this entire thing as to how I wanted to do this. So, like I always say, I really hope that the intention lands. And also because this was a tad bit of a work, you guys. Honestly, this was. I just told you I slept like literally early in the morning. And then I woke up and then I worked and then, I'm shooting right now. And now I'm going to go to sleep. So I am really hoping that the message gets delivered. That's all I have for you. I hope this helps. And I will see you very, very soon in the next episode. Until then, I'm sending lots and lots of love to you and way more sass. Bye.